What's the status, 3?
I'm good, just making the world a better place, that's all.
Ambicioso.
There's a devil and an angel in my hat.
The school system costs children, kids, that's baby sheep. You better wake the fuck.
Ambicioso.
There's some sins that you commit that you can't come back from, no matter how hard you try. You just can't, it's like the devil is waiting for your body to quit because he knows in that he already owns your soul. And then I think maybe there's no devil. You die, and God, he says, nah, you can't come in. You have to leave now. You have to leave and go away, and you have to be alone. If no leaves, right?
Check it, listen. You're a real step up, and I'm a landmine. Leave your legs dangling, call it hang time. Shout out to all the soldiers who bang signs. Back in the day, I used to sling dimes. This is for the streets, hustling, pushing grams, and flipping bundles. Fuck the government borders, I'm digging tunnels. Delivering the package, cause I'm the real muscle. Wear a ski mask, sports emblems above my brim. Nothing but camo, I'll stomp you out in my Timbs. Take it a step further and start chopping limbs. One day I make it out of hell, something's gotta give. People ask how come the chaos doesn't break me. Because I'm solid, deeply rooted like sequoia trees. The top G, Chuck the God with the iron rod, making devils flee. Staying righteous is something that I can't guarantee. I appear out of nowhere and disappear in the split smoke. No one is safe, not even the Catholic Pope. You would own nothing to be happy, that must be a joke. Cause no one is laughing, the war will be invoked. You will be gasping for air like an asthmatic choke. Begging for life, live slump, looking like an addict on dope. It's fucking rappers, fucking bombs. Peace of the gods. And I'm out, salute.
Peace, Hollywood. I gotta check your channel out. I think that this channel I watched for a long time. He hasn't posted in a minute, but I exposed the MCs. I think he had mentioned you. Could be someone else, but he mentioned a Hollywood before. But I know people use that term as Hollywood being Hollywood. With all that mask stuff like Scooby-Doo, some people don't think they wear masks, but I sure do. They play many roles. I try to explain to people when your light is dimming out and you have no more like fluid left in your career, what better way than to start a new character to keep you making money, to keep you afloat. Or they use it for agenda pushing too. But yeah, that freestyle I just spit was called Reigning Ignorance. I usually don't rhyme about the streets and shit no more because I don't think it's cool for sure when you lived it. It's definitely not nothing to brag about. Alright, let me upload these pictures. I thought this picture was funny. the Anunnakis, or is no? That's the Mesopotamians. Probably is the same. Anunnaki, Mesopotamia. They had, damn, I think I still have one like this. It goes from monkeys to, yeah, I forgot. How it went. It's a funny one. It goes from monkeys, I think, back to monkeys. Cause I forgot how it went. I gotta dig it out. Who believes in these lizard people, man? I was looking into this today just because. Why would someone draw stuff like this or make figurines? Could be a headdress or a head mask for a ritual. Some ugly looking things, man. What the hell is it holding in his hands? Those breasts? It's a female lizard. This picture right here is a screenshot from Divergent, and it's not the actual building. It's just showing an example of what that could have been, and I think some of these things were buildings. What destroyed it, I have no clue. Had to be weapons. I watched the Joe Rogan and Cat Williams interview just for the heck of it. And it kills me. It's like they want to say stuff, but they don't. They stare away from it because they're scared. But Cat Williams did say one good thing in that interview. He said, they want us to believe that our ancestors were dumb cave people. And that's far from the truth. If people would just take time and look. At stuff like this. They're everywhere. Just imagine a power plant this big, what it could do. Or whatever they were. Who's to say these aren't diamonds and it doesn't have a pyramid going downward underneath? Who's to say these aren't prisms? I forgot who said that. There was some comedian that said, I think it was what was his name? Eddie Griffin. Had some interesting things to say about the pyramids. But I just don't think Egyptian pyramids are the prime example of a pyramid. You know, that's just a tourist site. The real deal Holyfield pyramids, they don't talk about them like these big ones. Who's to say these aren't occupied inside already? There's not military inside. That's why they're not being. They could be occupied for all we know. They're in the middle of fucking nowhere. I think this one's in Ukraine or Russia. There's more lizard people with mumps on them. What's up with that, man? They got measles, or no? They got chicken pox. And they really got little lizard eyes, man. That's crazy. Those squinting eyes. I seen a child in the short video yesterday. He can control his eyes. He can make one eye go one way while the other one looks straight. And I was like, damn, what did they mix that child with? You know, I wonder the people that get the jabs, you know, I wonder what happens when these pregnant women, what that stuff is. What is happening to the children when they get those? Is it reconstructing the child's DNA? Who knows? This picture is just funny. I had to download it. This cat's a carrot head. Next. Huh. They definitely are puppets. Hold on. He went from the radiation sign to the yin and yang. Huh. Interesting. Some of these symbols, seven stars. Yeah, I wonder what happened to I Expose MCs. I gotta check his channel. So I haven't seen anything drop. Maybe his channel got annihilated. Hope not. Dude, the day I see a fucking lizard person, I'm capturing that fool. I just don't believe they exist. All these stories remind me of religion. Look at this clown. He's got hairy ass gorilla feet. He's crawling around like a fucking... Dude's hairy as ever, man. That ain't no fursuit. That's his hair. There's my boy. I got this map of underground, the so-called underground labyrinth under LA that they say is the lizard's labyrinth, but who the fuck knows if that's true? This right here. How come nobody goes down there? Fort Moore Place. Find out where that is. Does that say cold or gold? Imagine that, man. One of these tall ass lizard people come up to you. I would throw a fucking insect at it. You can't throw it a pork chop. It's got to be an insect. This picture is fucking confusing. It looks like the Pope with his fish hat and an incense, but why does it look like a flaming octopus? What the fuck is that in the sky? That's the best they could do for a picture of a sun? Come on. I gotta send this picture to Dean, his New Zealand Samp. Now this stamp is interesting for the fact the guy is holding Saturn's sickle. He's got wheat tears in his hand. Nah, that's the only reason I downloaded this was because there's Saturn symbolism in this. This is my uncle right here. Yeah, he comes from the Secaucus Mountain. Most people don't know that though. It's my Uncle Leroy. That picture, hold on, let me pull that other one back up. That picture and this picture kind of look the same. Except this guy has stuff, he don't have a crown on his head like this guy does. His crown's on the floor though. But it is the same. Long beard, furry fucking feet, just like this guy. Then you get books like this. If you find a book like this, best keep that shit. These are the type of books I look for in bookstores when they used to have them. Used books, best store to go to. Now, they're obsolete. Yeah, this picture is funny. She's like, take the jab. He's like, no. He fought like a wildcat, trying to jab me with that. What's up, Puma? What do you want? I just fed you. Peace, Mind's Eye. Is a link down there? Hold up. Yeah. If anyone wants to hit the link, it's there. There's no set topic. It is what it is. I didn't care to set a topic. No topico. Huh. Huh. I wonder why that has numbers up there. 12423. Grammaton. Grammaton. The tetragrammaton. Okay. Grr. God is a skull. Really? Too bad I couldn't read that. A witch and a warlock. As she holds the broken cross called the trident. It's my ancestors right here. Whoops. Can't show that because YouTube might cry. He showed some boobs. The reason why I downloaded this picture, some symbolism. Look at this, the rocks in the back of them. We've seen these rocks before. And they got dunce caps on. There's 7 of them and a cat in the center. Well, there's 8 really. Seven dwarves with the guy in the center. It's the universe. Now here's this lizard guy, looks hilarious. Look how tall he is. What's he doing? Some fucking ballet? That's funny. I want to know why, like the evil part of witchcraft, like the ones that do dark magic, what are they always using goats for? That, you know, what's so special about goats in witchcraft? They're always using animals like sheep, goats, fucking, even moose and deer antlers. I guess it's all about the antlers or the I wanted to upload this book of blank maps. Back to the hairy people. These are called the bear men. Now I'm gonna look deeper into these because I've never seen the bear men. And this goes with those other pictures. These hairy people. I gotta get what's his name up here? Only other person I know that would have a good conversation with me on that, off top, would be Red Squid X. I see him put a lot of these pictures up. Shout out to Red Squid X, man. Come on, jump up here. Stop, get out of here. You're always sitting near my feet. Crazy cat. He was crazy. My cat's nuts, man. They use a lot of dragons in the alchemy. Like, what dragon would lay on its back and eat its tail? Hit the link, Mind's Eye. Yeah, it's not. Well, maybe you work on Sundays. I don't know. Hold on. That picture right here is mind blowing. It's got the devil chasing, or a demon. It's got the Ouroboros being bitten by some armless thing, while the beast is consuming somebody. See? And another thing I noticed with the esoteric pictures is a lot of the women have one breast hanging out. One. I don't know what that symbolizes. Same thing as one eye, I guess. Blaze up some of this Buddha funk. Now this is a book I must find. Yep. And look at the number of the book. It says 1666 this book came out. How true is it? I don't know. But I do know it's a lizard guy, lizard whatever, in a ritualistic, whatever you call them, nightgowns, robes. Spied in the next field about noon, a company of men and women dancing in a ring, and the postures of their bodies being strange and unusual. Their S's look crazy in these books. Made her review them more attentively, whereby she discerned some of them to have cloven feet like oxen or goats. It should seem they were spirits in the shape of lusty satyrs. She being astonished with fear, cries out, Jesus, does that say Jesus or fetus? Jesus, help me and send me well home. She had no sooner said so, but they all vanished, save only one, Peter something, whom a little after she saw snatched up into the air, and to let fall his staff, and herself was also driven so forcibly by the wind that it made her almost lose her breath, and was saying to keep her bed 3 days after. That's why you don't mess with dark magic. But people don't listen. When that evil's done using you up, it's going to throw you away like a piece of old toilet paper. That thing she's holding in her hand, I've seen those in Egypt. Antichrist, my ass. There's that crescent moon the woman's standing on again. Huh. Looks like they're standing in water. Maybe that's the way they drew the ground. In picture 19, those look like two giants, but that could also be a child. Let's see. This map's weird. I wonder if this is our realm. The waters didn't recede all the way. Aquarius. I know people don't really like pictures, but it's something I do because I like pictures and I know how to break them down. Maybe people don't like them because they don't know how to break them down. All right, well, since no one's coming through, I'm gonna do me. gonna switch over to my laptop. Oh, shit. Giants are weird. Let's see what this is about. Yeah, this don't look real. Alright, that guy's bugged out. Almost there. Sometime today. Jesus. Oh, dude.
Look, balancing rocks while the Earth is a planet spinning with curved water as a ball in space. Let's see, balancing rocks. Let's see, is this natural geology of the natural world of the nature wonders of the Earth globe with curved water spinning in space? Is this like lava and magma, millions of years of erosion of water and wind, or is it not? I'm just going to show you almost 100 photos, pictures. and you tell me, and you drop to the conclusion of why. Or you see, then I'm going to show you some stuff that we as a human species create as well. Look, very awesome, isn't it? This is how me and you, when we go and we are super bored while the earth is spinning, we do this. And so if we do this, does this mean that this was made by something else, by somebody else, or not? This is awesome. I don't even know what this is. You know, it looks like an axe, but I don't know. And look at the balance of all this. Now remember, we are spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. Or is it 1,600 kilometers per hour? It's the same. Anyway, look at the balance. Look at the size of our humanity. Look at the size of me compared to this. Anyway, balancing. And look, this is something that we create when we are bored while the earth is spinning. And this is something we see in nature. So does this mean that this was created randomly? How does nature create all this? You know, against gravity and while spinning in space? I don't know. I feel somebody can, oh, look at this. This stays in perfect harmony and balance. Awesome, isn't it? Beautiful. Look, this is what we create when we are bored on holiday. And then we have balancing rocks like these and like this. Look, so balanced, so beautifully balanced. But look at this, so beautiful balance. Now remember, we do this while the earth spins. And the earth does this while the earth spins. Awesome stuff, isn't it? Look at it. Is this more amazing, awesome than the other one? Now this one is one of those things that appear over and over again. I have absolutely no idea and no clue what it is, but maybe somebody can illuminate the world. Now let's just look. This is a proper balance definition, and if the definition of balance in the dictionary, this would have to be there alongside the text. Massive, isn't it? We do it for climbing. No, we have these things. You see, these are quite different than the hexagonal geometrical shapes of the plant life ancient petrified, but still awesome and cool. Then some boulders. It reminds me of the Flintstones made the Flintstones. Anyway, I love that series. You know, even though it's from the 60s, I watched it in the 90s when I was a kid on Cartoon Network. Now you know. So whenever I see that there's so many boulders and rocks, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Flintstones. And then the Jetsons come afterwards as well. Look at this. We're going to see something in Russia as well later on. Oh, I'm so amazed by the brilliant petrified balancing stuff. More balanced stuff, always balanced stuff under the night sky. Remember, vibes of cosmos. The stars are the imprints of the great depths of the oceans and the energy spots of the land on the electromagnetic dome. Black sun from underneath. Vibes of cosmos explains everything. So awesome. And this is epic. You know, I feel like in the land of the giants and the titans and everything else. Balancing rocks. This is good for muscle. I think nature does this so we can build muscle while we're bored in nature. Look at this. Doesn't this inspire you? You put a video of the Earth spinning in space, CGI graphical interface by yours truly on the television broadcasting system of NASA, and you put this on the other side, and then you feel the balance while we spin. I feel I'm spinning right now. I definitely feel I'm spinning at 1,000 miles per hour while this is happening in the reality of the real world, isn't it? Even the cuts sometimes they look like so artificial, but who knows? Maybe it's just me. I'm just showing you the real stuff that you see in the reality of the real world, and then you can decide by yourself what this all means. Balancing even when it's freezing, when it's freezing, when it's like freezing temperatures. Oh, sometimes you just have to take a moment and ask yourself the question, cares. But if you say something else like gravity and stuff, then that's what's important for the human species. Look at this. Now imagine if you just go there and you touch it and boom, you say, no, what are you doing? This has been there for millions of years, has it? Now this is what we create as people who are bored on holidays, and this is what we see in nature, isn't it? Isn't this wonderful? And don't even start asking me why the borders and everything looks so perfectly shaped and cut and things like that, because I don't have any clue. I just see it and I go, wow, this world is wonderful. Look, In this photo, we have two major things happening. First, the balance and the stuff, and then we have the local sun. You see the perspective, the rays of the sun, which is just a reflection of the black sun. Look, more balanced stuff to the ballet, more balanced stuff. And the land is big. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, let me show you more stuff until we get to the point where you're going to exit stage left, because you're going to see some really, really epic stuff, which is cut artificially. You're going to ask the question, why? What is this? I don't know. And what is this? I don't know. These things are everywhere. And the more you search for them, the more you get impacted, because it has nothing to do with anything you can possibly define under the sun. Fine under the sun, but they're there. So this world is fantastic. So not everything is just hexagonal petrified giant trees, or red bricks electrified melted, or ancient old buildings with domes. Sometimes you have stuff that's just balancing rocks in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, and then look, this is an artificial cut. Applause artificial cut. Amazing, majestic, isn't it? More stuff. Look, this is for building muscle. Now we have some red stuff. Maybe this was an old building with red bricks and then melted. Who knows? Then we have some other stuff here. More balanced, very balanced. This is like balancing rock. I like the name, balancing rock. Fredericksburg in Texas. Awesome stuff. Look at this. This looks more like cut artificially and then balanced. And this is somewhere in Asia. People are just it's there. It doesn't fall because the earth spins, and people are praying. I don't know why people are praying. You just ask the question. This is like the old photo and the new photo. Imagine from 1900 to today. And I guess it's a good spot for, we have to go and pray. That's what people do there. Now we go to Russia. Look at this majestic, amazing, super supreme. This is artificial. This is not something created by nature. Now you ask the question. I think this is a Gorna Shoraya, right? Shoraya Gorna, or Goria, Gornaya Shoria. Gornaya Shoria, I think that's the name. You tell me, how is this possible in the deep Russia? Nobody speaks about this, not even in Russia anymore. So yeah, it's just perfectly cut and put together stones like a puzzle. And I'm just showing you them. You see the human size compared to them. These are like one of the best quality photos ever. And the definition of mystery on this world spinning in space is there. What do you make of it? I don't know. That was the last one. Now let's go a bit back to show the most epic. So epic number 1, impact. Epic number 2, impact. Epic number 3, impact, because it's so big and so impact. Cut artificial. Epic
My name's Ed Snowden. I'm 29 years old. I work for Booz Allen Hamilton as an infrastructure analyst for NSA in Hawaii.
What are some of the positions that you held previously within the intelligence community?
I've been a systems engineer, systems administrator, senior advisor for the Central Intelligence Agency, solutions consultant, and a telecommunications information systems officer.
One of the things people are going to be most interested in trying to understand who you are and what you're thinking is there came some point in time when you crossed this line of thinking about being a whistleblower to making the choice to actually become a whistleblower. Walk people through that decision-making process.
When you're in positions of privileged access, like a systems administrator for these sort of intelligence community agencies, you're exposed to a lot more information on a broader scale than the average employee. And because of that, you see things that may be disturbing, but over the course of a normal person's career, you'd only see one or two of these instances. When you see everything, you see them on a more frequent basis. And you recognize that some of these things are actually abuses. And when you talk to people about them in a place like this, where this is the normal state of business, people tend not to take them very seriously and move on from it. It sort of builds up, and you feel compelled to talk about it. And the more you talk about it, the more you're ignored, the more you're told it's not a problem, until eventually you realize that these things need to be determined by the public, not by somebody who was simply hired by the government.
Talk a little bit about how the American surveillance state actually functions. Does it target the actions of Americans?
NSA and the intelligence community in general is focused on getting intelligence wherever it can by any means possible, that it believes on the grounds of sort of a self-certification that they serve the national interest. Originally, we saw that focus very narrowly tailored as foreign intelligence gathered overseas. Now, increasingly, we see that it's happening domestically. And to do that, the NSA specifically targets the communications of everyone. It ingests them by default. It collects them in its system, and it filters them, and it analyzes them, and it measures them, and it stores them for periods of time, simply because that's the easiest, most efficient, and most valuable way to achieve these ends. So while they may be intending to target someone associated with a foreign government or someone that they suspect of terrorism, they're collecting your communications to do so. Any analyst at any time can target anyone, any selector anywhere. Where those communications will be picked up depends on the range of the sensor networks and the authorities that analyst is empowered with. Not all analysts have the ability to target everything, but I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authority to a federal judge, to even the president if I had a personal email.
One of the extraordinary parts about this episode is that usually whistleblowers do what they do anonymously and take steps to remain anonymous for as long as they can, which they hope often is forever. You, on the other hand, have decided to do the opposite, which is to declare yourself openly as the person behind these disclosures. Why did you choose to do that?
I think that the public is owed an explanation of the motivations behind the people who make these disclosures that are outside of the democratic model. When you are subverting the power of government, that's a fundamentally dangerous thing to democracy. And if you do that in secret consistently, as the government does when it wants to benefit from a secret action that it took, it'll kind of give its officials a mandate to go, hey, tell the press about this thing and that thing, so the public is on our side. But they rarely, if ever, do that when an abuse occurs. That falls to individual citizens, but they're typically maligned. It becomes a thing of these people are against the country, they're against the government. But I'm not. I'm no different from anybody else. I don't have special skills. I'm just another guy who sits there day to day in the office, watches what's happening, and goes, This is something that's not our place to decide. The public needs to decide whether these programs and policies are right or wrong. And I'm willing to go on the record to defend the authenticity of them and say, I didn't change these. I didn't modify the story. This is the truth. This is what's happening. You should decide whether we need to be doing this.
Have you given thought to what it is that the U.S. government's response to your conduct is, in terms of what they might say about you, how they might try to depict you, what they might try to do to you?
Yeah, I could be, rendered by the CIA. I could have people come after me, or any of their third-party partners. They work closely with a number of other nations, or they could pay off the triads, or any of their agents or assets. We've got a CIA station just up the road in the consulate here in Hong Kong, and I'm sure they're going to be very busy for the next week. And that's a fear I'll live under for the rest of my life, however long that happens to be. You can't come forward against the world's most powerful intelligence agencies and be completely free from risk, because they're such powerful adversaries that no one can meaningfully oppose them. If they want to get you, they'll get you in time. But at the same time, you have to make a determination about what it is that's important to you. And if living unfreely but comfortably is something you're willing to accept, and I think many of us are, it's the human nature. Your large paycheck for relatively little work against the public interest, and go to sleep at night after watching your shows. But if you realize that that's the world that you helped create, and it's going to get worse with the next generation and the next generation who extend the capabilities of this sort of architecture of oppression, you realize that you might be willing to accept any risk, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is, so long as the public gets to make their own decisions about how that's applied.
Why should people care about surveillance?
Because even if you're not doing anything wrong, you're being watched and recorded, and the storage capability of these systems increases every year consistently by orders of magnitude, to where it's getting to the point you don't have to have done anything wrong. You simply have to eventually fall under suspicion from somebody, even by a wrong call, and then they can use the system to go back in time and scrutinize every decision you've ever made, every friend you've ever discussed something with, and attack you on that basis to sort of derive suspicion from an innocent life and paint anyone in the context of a wrongdoer.
We are currently sitting in a room in Hong Kong, which is where we are because you traveled here. Talk a little bit about why it is that you came here. And specifically, there are going to be people who will speculate that what you really intend to do is to defect to the country that many see as the #1 rival of the United States, which is China, and that what you're really doing is essentially seeking to aid an enemy of the United States with which you intend to seek asylum. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So there's a couple assertions in those arguments that are
I don't get, man. So they say China's the number. And every time I hear that's bullshit. Where they house the enemies. And this. But I think it's time to, I don't know. I don't believe any of these nation enemies. It's not my problem. The tyrannical government. That's their war, but the enemy, no fucking way. I don't believe that one bit.
that are sort of embedded in the questioning of the choice of Hong Kong. The first is that China is an enemy of the United States. It's not. I mean, there are conflicts between the United States government and the Chinese PRC government, but the peoples inherently, we don't care. We trade with each other freely. We're not at war. We're not in armed conflict, and we're not trying to be. We're the largest trading partners out there for each other. Has a strong tradition of free speech. People think, oh, China, great firewall. Mainland China does have significant restrictions on free speech, but the people of Hong Kong have a long tradition of protesting in the streets, of making their views known. The internet is not filtered here, no more so than any other Western government. And I believe that the Hong Kong government is actually independent in relation to a lot of other leading Western governments.
If your motive had been to harm the United States and help its enemies, or if your motive had been personal material gain, were there things that you could have done with these documents to advance those goals that you didn't end up doing?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anybody in the positions of access with the technical capabilities that I had could, suck out secrets, pass them on the open market to Russia. They always have an open door, as we do. I had access to, the full rosters of everyone working at the NSA, the entire intelligence community, and undercover assets all around the world, the locations of every station we have, what their missions are, and so forth. If I had just wanted to harm the U.S., that you could shut down the surveillance system in an afternoon. But that's not my intention. And I think for anyone making that argument, they need to think, if they were in my position, and you live a privileged life, you're living in Hawaii in paradise and making a ton of money, what would it take to make you leave everything behind? The greatest fear that I have regarding the outcome for America of these disclosures is that nothing will change. People will see in the media all of these disclosures. They'll know the lengths that the government is going to grant themselves powers unilaterally to create greater control over American society and global society. But they won't be willing to take the risks necessarily to stand up and fight to change things, to force their representatives to actually take a stand in their interests. And the months ahead, the years ahead, it's only going to get worse until eventually there will be a time where policies will change, because the only thing that restricts the activities of the surveillance state are policy. A stipulation of policy rather than a stipulation of law. And because of that, a new leader will be elected. They'll flip the switch, say that because of the crisis, because of the dangers that we face in the world, some new and unpredicted threat, we need more authority. We need more power. And there will be nothing that people can do at that point to oppose it. And it'll be turnkey tyranny.
What's going on inside a mysterious building affects you. Could a Chicago skyscraper house government spying secrets?
I'm in the heart of Chicago, across the street from the station where suburbanites arrive in on their daily commute. Little do they know that if a nuclear bomb were to go off at one of their houses, some of the only people to survive would be in this building.
This gigantic, windowless concrete structure is filled with generators and enough diesel fuel and other supplies for its inhabitants to last 2 weeks without ever leaving.
It had its own generator and water well to keep it running for at least 2 weeks if disaster struck.
Despite it being a doomsday prepper's paradise, all these commuters, they just walk right by without ever even noticing the strange and secretive structure. And that's by design.
There's a kind of inherent internal tension in buildings like these because they are so meticulous. They are so dedicated to saying, you're not going You're not going to have any idea what's going on here. You're not going to get, and this is the closest you're going to get right here. And we're, 40 feet away. Yeah, I'm Zach Mortiz. I'm a Chicago design journalist and critic, and I really like learning about how architecture gets sucked into conspiracy theories. So what we know now of what happened at 33 Thomas Street and 10 South Canal and others came from the Edward Snowden documents that were leaked to the press about 10 years ago.
Folks like Edward Snowden and the investigative reporting of online news organization The Intercept implicate buildings like this as hubs in a vast network of surveillance infrastructure. Specifically, the NSA taps into telephone and internet traffic directly from here. The program is codenamed Fairview, and it's one of the largest surveillance programs conducted by the US government. In total, there are 8 locations of similar structures located in cities across the United States. Atlanta, a 429-foot Art Deco structure in the heart of downtown. In Dallas, a cube-like building with narrow windows and huge vents. 611 Folsom Street in San Francisco. 1122 3rd Avenue in Seattle. 33 Thomas Street in New York is probably the most prominent example, both for its design and its location conspicuously jutting from the New York street grid. Its designer called it a 20th century fortress.
So 33 Thomas Street has been featured a good number of times in movies and TV shows as sort of a blind cyclopean power, right? This kind of ISR on the surveillance hub, completely opaque, this all-seeing monolith of kind of power and privilege and money and agonistic intent.
Just looking at these buildings, you can tell that something just isn't right. They just look too suspicious. But how exactly are these buildings used to spy on us? Well, these buildings were originally built to house telecommunications equipment like switching stations for routing long-distance calls to other nodes on the telephone networks. Calling them buildings might be a bit of a stretch, since they're not fully for people. Fundamentally, there are structures for machines, and generators, wires, supplies, and exhaust fans. Many of these examples were built in the 1970s, at the height of the Cold War. Communication was a national priority, which meant ensuring uninterrupted operation, even during the worst-case scenario, a nuclear attack. Critical physical infrastructure needed to be built so that telephone calls could be made when almost nothing else was standing. All for the sake of the greater good of the country, the communication network was owned and run by private companies. 10 South Canal was built by Illinois Bell, for instance. The New York Telephone Company built 33 Thomas. There's a real conflict of interest here. Private corporations would prefer to build inexpensive buildings, the minimum to just do the job. The government, with its own competing interests, needs extra investment to ensure a greater standard of construction. This requires close cooperation and lucrative incentives. Nowadays, all these buildings are owned by a single company, AT&T, who has historically been an eager partner with government agencies. The New York Times reported that one document described their relationship as highly collaborative, while other lauded the company's extreme willingness to help. Today, helping means AT&T provides access links and peering partners to send information to a centralized processing facility codenamed Pinecone that's located in New Jersey. Inside the Pinecone facility, there's a secure space in which there's both NSA-controlled and AT&T-controlled equipment. Internet traffic passes through an AT&T distribution box to two NSA systems. From there, the data is transferred about 200 miles southwest to its final destination, NASA headquarters at Fort Meade in Maryland. So that's the network that these buildings are a part of, but let's look a little bit more closely at each building specifically. 10 South Canal is a 26-story tower designed by the architecture firm Halliburton Root. It's a basic concrete frame building with the caveat of textured concrete panels filling the spaces where windows would normally be.
You do kind of see this window pattern, just kind of within the masonry, cut out to kind of form the shape and proportion of windows. They're obviously not windows. It kind of strikes me as like a fake mustache disguise for a building that has been implicated in spying activities.
The top 7 floors do have windows, and they're used for offices. The very top is filled with equipment for moving air in the building. Machines don't need views of the outside world and would be harmed by direct sunlight anyway, which has the added problem of warming the interior. So that's why buildings like this don't have windows. But from outside, you can see soaring engaged columns and floor plates every few feet.
So here we have basic structural columns lining the perimeter of the building, but behind here and all along the perimeter, you'll see these darker volumes. And those are chambers for telephone cables that rise up out of the earth. That was the purpose of this building initially.
And I've noticed something really strange about these columns. They're curiously close together. The columns are set in a grid that helps organize the structure. Along Madison Street, there's a column every 20 feet or 6 meters. In the north-south direction, they vary in distance. The second row is 32 feet away from the first, while the second is 25 feet again. This is really tight.
Yeah, they're probably close together to hold the weight of the building because the cement is so thick. It's probably bomb-proof. And 2, there's probably computer, big giant, what do you call them? Things that hold memory and shit on each floor. That's why there's no windows probably. They don't need them. And shit, if you got enough stuff like that to survive, I mean, that also would keep people from climbing into the building too. If shit did hit the fan, I guess.
For instance, the building across the street has columns every 45 feet or 14 meters. This building has about twice as much structure as a typical building. The shorter distance between the columns means the beams and the floors don't have to span very far. They don't deflect with the weight. This building can hold some extremely heavy stuff inside.
All this computer equipment is very, very heavy. In fact, it's so heavy that you could fit 45, 50 stories in here, but there's quite a bit less than that. There are fewer stories on this building than you really could, given its height in feet.
Also, the building's core, which carries things like wires, pipes, ducts, and elevators up through the floors, sits all the way to one side, to the south. This keeps the majority of the tower free and open, as flexible as possible. Today, it's known the facility contains 6 large V16 yellow Caterpillar generators that can provide backup electricity in the event of a power failure, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. AT&T also stores 200,000 gallons of diesel fuel, enough to run the generator for 40 days. 33 Thomas in New York has reportedly similar equipment inside. And while it's still a giant blank monolith, it looks a little bit different. It doesn't just blend in with the towers on all the other sides of it. 33 Thomas in New York was completed in 1974 and was designed by the architectural firm John Carl Warnicke and Associates. It has pretty much the same specs. It's 29 actual floors, but it's about twice as tall as a normal building with that many floors. Its structural grid is also very small, at around 20 feet or 6 meters apart. An architectural historian claims that the building's structural capacity is 400 pounds per square feet. This is like 3 times more than a normal tower structure. It means that each floor could be filled with water over 2 meters high on every single floor, and the building would be absolutely fine. The same historian writes, the building may well be the densest inhabitable object in New York City. Unlike 10 South Canal, this building has a steel structure and a layered facade made of granite facing on the exterior, concrete blocks filled with cables, and terracotta tile on the inside. During the 1990s, an artist was actually allowed inside. Stanley Greenberg was able to capture these snapshots across various floors. Some photos show racks of equipment and really strange-looking backup batteries. Despite the similarities between the two buildings, 33 Thomas looks very different, and it sits lonely within the New York street grid. The outside panels bow outward between each column, so the overall effect is that the building looks as though it's made of a bundle of smaller tubes. Some tubes stop short at the 10th floor, but at the top of each tube is a vent, just like the vents that crown 10 South Canal.
John Carl Warnicke had some very doctrinaire ideas about how he wanted to organize this building. And one of them was that no vertical line could be interrupted for a reason that wasn't functional. So the only way he could justify breaking any vertical line that your eye might trace in 33 Thomas Street was, in this case, the air vent hoods, right? So you see vertical lines break there and then start again.
Overall, the building is a relentless grid of structure, topped by microwave antennas and mechanical equipment. The building is absolutely massive and can hold almost anything. Published drawings like this leave it up to us to fill in the empty structure with our imagination. In the movie Winter, this is the movie Winter Kills, we're given a glimpse of the imagined interior, which is repurposed as an information storage silo.
Contracts. Agreements kept, agreements broken. Papers. Signatures.
In the movie 33 Thomas Street, our protagonist, played by Jeff Bridges, Nick Keegan, is told by the staff that this building operates even while we're asleep. So it's kind of hinted that computers are actually controlling the show. And throughout its history, 33 Thomas Street has been conceived of as a building inhabited by machines. That's more or less how John Carl Warnicke, its architect, described it. Yeah, there's kind of this trajectory illustrated by the movie Winter Kills, other conspiracy theory media, of spy apparatus and security state operations kind of moving further and further away from human hands and human control.
It seems that we're at a strange crossroads. These monoliths of surveillance are right here for us to walk by on our daily commutes. No one is disguising the fact that they exist, but they certainly seem like they're disguising whatever is inside of them.
Yeah, it comes like this pure abstract visual icon more than anything you could ever have like a relationship with.
In one sense, they're products of a past that we've slowly marched away from. I mean, look at Jeff Bridges then versus now. Unlike the 1970s, the mechanics of surveillance today aren't so easy to imagine. Spying just isn't tied to physical space and infrastructure or located conspicuously in the middle of things anymore. But buildings like 10 South Canal and 33 Thomas are built like fortresses. And they do more than just provide easy connections to phone lines. They're like beacons for debate about privacy and power.
I mean, it's the amazing thing is that like the kind of creepy conspiratorial thoughts people had about buildings like this turned out to be, in a lot of ways, largely true.
Maybe their conspicuousness prompts us to internalize the cost of the convenience that we associate with the invisible networks that we appreciate today. This is the architecture of the unseen. And when we head home from a day's work, remember that the surveillance state never goes to rest. Wow, there's so many cameras. Here's a secret that I'm not trying to hide. I'm saving up because I want to buy a house eventually. And it's just time to pull the trigger. This 1-bedroom apartment, it's just too small for us. So I've been trying really hard to get on top of my yourself and grow your savings all in one place. I'm using Rocket Money to set a budget and then monitor my spending so I can get into that house even sooner. They send me notifications when I start getting out of hand and help.
That was interesting. Very interesting. If people haven't looked into Edward P. Salama, if people haven't looked into Edward Snowden, you should look into him more. I mean, he says a lot more in that interview. But I think I'm gonna end it here. About to go get some grub. And peace to everyone. The Divergent video was dope. And so were these two videos. I'm about to go watch more on Edward Snowden. And I'm out. Peace to everyone.